The church doors slammed behind me as I bolted down the aisle, my fiancée's stunned gasp echoing like a gunshot in the packed sanctuary. Emily's white dress blurred in my periphery, her family's outraged shouts chasing me into the rain-slicked streets of Chicago. In that split second, seeing Mark's face among the guests, my secret college love, the man I'd buried deep in denial, shattered the facade I'd built for a decade, forcing me to choose between a life of lies and the truth that could cost me everything. My name is Alex Thompson, and up until that moment, I'd convinced myself I could pull it off. The perfect straight life. A rising star at a downtown law firm, a beautiful bride-to-be from a prominent family, and parents who beamed with pride at the thought of grandchildren. But Mark's unexpected appearance ripped open wounds I'd stitched shut long ago. We met freshman year at Northwestern, in a philosophy class where debates on ethics turned into late-night coffees and stolen kisses in dorm rooms. He was bold, unapologetic about his sexuality, while I was the son of conservative Midwestern Baptists who viewed anything alternative as a one-way ticket to damnation. I ended it abruptly after graduation, terrified of the fallout, and dove headfirst into heteronormative bliss, or so I thought. The rain pounded the pavement as I hailed a cab, my tuxedo soaking through. "O'Hare Airport," I muttered, not knowing where else to go. My phone buzzed incessantly. Emily's texts pleading for an explanation, my mother's voicemails laced with confusion and anger. How could I tell them that the man I'd loved more than anyone was back, stirring feelings I'd suppressed under layers of ambition and expectation? Mark had messaged me the night before the wedding, saying he was in town for business and heard about the nuptials through mutual friends. "Congrats," he'd written, but the subtext screamed unfinished business. I ignored it, but seeing him there, his eyes locking onto mine with that familiar intensity, made the charade impossible. By the time I reached the airport hotel, exhaustion hit like a freight train. I checked in under a fake name, collapsed on the bed, and finally answered Mark's call. "What the hell, Alex?" His voice cracked through the speaker, a mix of hurt and urgency. We agreed to meet at a quiet diner on the outskirts, away from prying eyes. As I waited in the booth, nursing black coffee, memories flooded back. Our road trips to Lake Michigan, whispered promises under starry skies, the way he'd challenge my fears without judgment. But I'd chosen safety, law school, Emily, the path my father mapped out since I was a kid. "Be a man, provide for a family," he'd say, his words echoing the church sermons that equated difference with sin. Mark slid into the seat across from me, his dark hair tousled, eyes searching. "You ran. Why?" I hesitated, the words sticking like thorns. "Because pretending with Emily felt like dying slowly. And seeing you, it reminded me I'm not who they want me to be." We talked for hours, the diner emptying around us. He told me about his life in New York. Openly gay, successful in tech, but haunted by our abrupt end. "You ghosted me, Alex. Said it was for the best." Guilt twisted in my gut. I'd convinced myself it was noble, sparing him the drama of my family's rejection. But it was cowardice, pure and simple. As dawn broke, we parted with a tentative hug, promising to talk more. Back in my room, reality crashed down. Emily's father, a powerful judge, left a voicemail threatening legal action for the wedding costs. My boss emailed, questioning my reliability after the personal emergency. And my parents, God, my parents. I drove to their suburban home that afternoon, steeling myself for the confrontation. Mom opened the door, her face etched with worry. "Alex, what happened?" Emily's devastated. Dad stood behind her, arms crossed, his silence more damning than words. We sat in the living room, the same one where I'd announced my engagement 2 years prior. "I'm gay," I blurted, the admission hanging heavy in the air. Mom's hand flew to her mouth, tears welling. Dad's face hardened. "This is nonsense. You've been with Emily for years. It's cold feet, that's all." I pushed back, recounting my history with Mark, the internal war I'd waged. "It's not a phase, Dad. I've hidden it because I knew you'd react like this." The argument escalated, Bible verses thrown like weapons, accusations of selfishness. "You're throwing away your future for what? Some college fling?" Dad roared. Mom begged me to think of the family reputation, the church community that would shun us. I left feeling hollow, the weight of their disappointment crushing. Emily met me at a coffee shop the next day, her eyes red-rimmed. "Was it all a lie?" she asked, voice trembling. I owed her the truth. Our relationship had been genuine in affection, but built on my denial. "I love you as a friend, Em, but I'm attracted to men." She slapped me, the sting deserved. "You used me as a cover." Her words cut deep, a betrayal she'd carry forever. We parted with her demanding space. The ring returned in a velvet box that felt like a coffin for our shared dreams. Word spread like wildfire. Colleagues whispered in hallways. Clients pulled accounts citing instability. My firm suggested a leave of absence. Code for, "Get your shit together." Social media exploded with speculation. Friends unfriending, relatives distancing. The isolation was suffocating, a self-inflicted exile. Mark became my lifeline, our calls turning daily. He urged me to come to New York, start fresh. But doubt crept in. Was I trading one cage for another? The societal pressure in Chicago was overt. Billboards preaching traditional values. Family gatherings laced with homophobic jokes. In New York, it might be subtler, but judgment lingered everywhere. A week later, I packed a bag and boarded a flight east. Mark picked me up at JFK, his smile a beacon in the chaos. We drove to his Brooklyn apartment, the city lights blurring past. For the first time in years, I felt a spark of freedom. But as we settled in, old fears resurfaced. "What if this blows up your life too?" I asked. He shrugged. "It already did once. I'm ready this time." We navigated the awkwardness of reconnection. Shared meals, walks in Central Park, tentative touches that reignited passion without crossing into territory that would cheapen the emotional rebuild. Back home, the fallout intensified. Dad cut off contact. Mom sent pleading letters quoting scripture. Emily's family sued for wedding expenses. A petty jab that forced me into mediation. The lawyer's office was sterile. Emily across the table like a stranger. "I just want closure," she said. We settled out of court, but the process exposed raw nerves, her hurt, my remorse. It was a harsh lesson in the cost of deception. Not just to myself, but to those I'd dragged into the lie. As months passed, Mark and I built something real, attending pride events that once terrified me. But therapy revealed deeper scars, internalized homophobia from years of suppression. Sessions unpacked the moral dilemmas. Was it ethical to live authentically at the expense of others' pain? Society's lens magnified every choice. Friends applauding my bravery, strangers glaring on subways. One night, after a heated argument with Mark about my lingering guilt, I realized the true battle was internal. "I can't keep apologizing for existing," I told him. Yet, reconciliation loomed. A call from Mom. Dad had a heart scare, prompting reflection. "We miss you, Alex. Can we talk?" I flew back, heart pounding. The hospital room was tense, Dad frail in the bed. "I don't understand it," he admitted. "But you're my son." It wasn't acceptance, but a crack in the armor. Mom hugged me tight, whispering, "We'll figure it out." Emily, too, reached out via email. "I'm moving on, but I forgive you. Be happy." Returning to New York, I proposed to Mark, not with rings but a commitment to face whatever came. Our life together was messy, laced with societal pushback. Job interviews where my personal story raised eyebrows, family holidays boycotted. But the freedom outweighed the chains. Still, questions lingered. Had I been selfish or simply human? Mark and I settled into a rhythm in Brooklyn, our apartment a sanctuary amid the city's hustle. Mornings started with coffee on the fire escape, discussing everything from work deadlines to the lingering shadows of my past. He worked in app development, his office a trendy loft in Dumbo, while I freelanced legal consulting remotely, dodging the judgmental stares of my old firm. It was liberating, but the undercurrent of tension never fully dissipated. Society's gaze felt omnipresent. Subtle microaggressions at grocery stores. Overt hostility from online trolls who dug up my wedding fiasco. One evening, As we prepared dinner, my phone rang. An unknown Chicago number. It was my sister, Laura, who I'd barely spoken to since the blow-up. Alex, Dad's out of the hospital, but things are rough. Mom's a mess, and he's stubborn as ever. She paused, her voice softening. I support you, you know. Always have. Laura had been my quiet ally growing up, the one who noticed my discomfort at family barbecues when cousins teased about girls. Her call was a lifeline, but it stirred guilt. Come visit, she urged. Show them you're still you. I debated with Mark that night. What if it's a trap? Dad preaching conversion therapy? Mark squeezed my hand. Or it's progress. You won't know unless you try. The decision weighed heavy, a moral crossroads. Prioritize my mental health or attempt to mend familial bonds frayed by my truth. I booked a ticket, Mark insisting on coming. We're a package deal now. The flight was turbulent, mirroring my nerves. Landing at O'Hare, memories assaulted me. Childhood drives to the city, Dad's lectures on responsibility. Laura picked us up, her hug fierce. Mark. Nice to meet the man who stole my brother's heart. Her ease lightened the mood, but arriving at the family home felt like entering a battlefield. Mom greeted us at the door, eyes darting to our linked hands. Welcome, she said stiffly. Dad sat in his recliner, remote in hand, avoiding eye contact. Dinner was awkward. Small talk about weather and sports masking the elephant in the room. Finally, Dad cleared his throat. So this is your friend. The word dripped with disdain. Mark smiled politely. Partner, actually. Tension spiked. I interjected. Dad, we're here to talk, not argue. What followed was a raw exchange. Dad's fears of eternal damnation, rooted in his upbringing. Mom's worry about community ostracism. The neighbors whisper, she confessed. I shared my side, the years of self-loathing, the depression masked by achievement. Hiding nearly killed me. Mark added perspective. Love isn't a choice, Mr. Thompson. Denying it hurts everyone. Dad bristled but didn't explode. Instead, he asked questions, halting, genuine. How long have you felt this way? It was progress, albeit glacial. By evening's end, no hugs were exchanged, but Dad muttered, drive safe. Laura texted later, baby steps. Back in New York, the visit lingered like a bruise. Work picked up. A progressive firm offered me a position, valuing my resilience, but societal pressures mounted elsewhere. At a networking event, a colleague quipped, heard about your dramatic exit. Hollywood material. Laughter ensued, but it stung. A reminder that my personal life was fodder for judgment. Mark faced his own battles, his conservative clients pulling contracts after learning about us. It's business, they said, but bigotry shone through. Our relationship tested under strain. One night, after Mark lost a major deal, he snapped. Your baggage is dragging us down. Hurt flared. My baggage? You knew what you were getting into. The argument escalated, unearthing insecurities. My fear of abandonment. His resentment of playing second fiddle to my family drama. We slept apart, the silence deafening. Morning brought apologies, but the crack revealed vulnerability. Therapy became essential, unpacking how societal norms amplified our internal conflicts. A turning point came via an unexpected ally, Emily. She emailed, suggesting coffee during her New York business trip. I agreed, Mark encouraging reconciliation. At the cafe, she looked composed, a new ring on her finger. Engaged, she smiled, to someone who knows himself. We laughed. The bitterness faded. I'm sorry, Em. Truly. She nodded. It hurt, but it woke me up too. I was settling. Her forgiveness was a balm, highlighting the ripple effects of authenticity. Painful, but transformative. Emboldened, I reached out to old friends, some receptive, others not. One, a former college buddy, confessed his own struggles. You gave me courage, man. It sparked a chain, support groups, advocacy. Mark and I volunteered at LGBTQ centers, mentoring youth facing similar dilemmas. The work grounded us, turning personal turmoil into purpose. Yet betrayal lurked. A cousin leaked family emails to a local gossip blog, twisting my story into scandal. Headlines screamed, "Lawyer ditches bride for gay affair." Trolls flooded my inbox with hate. Mark's boss called him in, hinting at image concerns. The pressure culminated in a heated board meeting where Mark defended our right to privacy. He emerged victorious but exhausted. "Is it worth it?" he asked that night. I pulled him close. "You are." But doubt seeded. Had my choices doomed us? Society's machinery, media, workplaces, families, grinded against nonconformity. A weekend getaway to the Hamptons offered respite. Beach walks, candid talks. "We fight because we care," Mark said. Recommitted, we returned stronger. Months later, Dad called unexpectedly. "Your mother's birthday's coming. Join us." No mention of Mark, but an olive branch. We went, the visit less fraught. Dad even asked Mark about his job, polite if strained. Mom pulled me aside. "We're trying, Alex. For you." The evolution was bittersweet. Gains tempered by losses. Lost clients, strained ties. But the internal peace? Priceless. Still, ethical quandaries persisted. Did my pursuit of happiness justify the collateral damage? As our life in New York stabilized, new conflicts emerged from unexpected quarters. Mark's family, whom I'd met briefly, were liberal on surface but harbored subtle reservations. His mother, during a holiday visit to Connecticut, cornered me. "You're good for him, Alex, but that wedding drama, it follows you." Her words implied baggage, a polite way of saying I complicated their son's life. Mark brushed it off, but it festered, highlighting how my past decisions rippled outward. Professionally, I thrived at the new firm handling pro bono cases for LGBTQ rights. One involved a teen suing for emancipation after parental rejection, mirroring my fears. Mentoring him, I confronted my own unresolved anger toward Dad. "Forgiveness isn't forgetting," my therapist said. But when the case won, the victory felt personal, a small dent in societal barriers. Socially, we navigated minefields. At a pride parade, euphoria mixed with vigilance. Counter-protesters chanting slurs. A brick through our window weeks later, scrawled with hate, shattered our sense of security. Police dismissed it as vandalism, but fear lingered. "Move to a safer neighborhood?" Mark suggested. We did, but the incident underscored the cost. Constant alertness eroded trust. Internal mouthwash peaked during a trip back to Chicago for Laura's wedding. Mark and I attended as a couple, a bold statement. Whispers followed us down the aisle. Dad avoided us, Mom forced smiles. At the reception, a drunk uncle confronted me. "You shamed the family." Fists clenched. I walked away, but Mark intervened calmly. "Respect differs, sir." The night ended in tears. Laura apologizing, me questioning if inclusion was worth the humiliation. Post-wedding, Dad emailed, "Saw you with him. Still don't approve, but won't disown you. Progress or conditional tolerance?" The moral dilemma gnawed. Accept scraps or demand full acceptance? Mark urged patience. Change takes time. Betrayal struck closer. A colleague at my firm, feigning alliance, leaked client info tied to my lifestyle, costing a major case. Fired, he sued for discrimination, irony thick. The scandal reignited media interest, paparazzi hounding us. Is this life? I despaired. Mark held firm. We weather it together. Seeking solace, we joined a support group. Stories shared. Partners lost to suicide. Families reconciled after decades. One man's tale of faking straightness for 30 years, only to come out and lose everything, echoed mine. The price of truth is high, but lies cost your soul. It reframed my journey, not selfish but necessary. A pivotal moment. Emily's wedding invitation arrived. Attending felt like closure. In a Boston church, we watched her vow eternal love. Afterward, she hugged me. Thanks for setting me free too. Her husband, kind-eyed, shook hands. No resentment, only growth. Inspired, I wrote an op-ed for a national paper. The cost of coming out in America. It went viral, drawing praise and vitriol. Job offers poured in from advocacy groups. But Dad read it, calling furious. Airing dirty laundry? We argued, but ended with him saying, "Proud of your writing, at least. A sliver of light." Mark proposed formally on our anniversary. Rings exchanged in Central Park. Joy mingled with realism. Marriage equality existed, but challenges persisted. Planning the wedding, we faced vendor biases, family RSVPs trickling. The ceremony was intimate, friends filling gaps left by absentees. Vows spoken, we kissed amid cheers. Dad didn't come, but sent a card, "Wishing you well." Mom attended virtually, tears streaming. Honeymoon in Hawaii brought bliss, but return to reality hit hard. A promotion for Mark came with relocation whispers to a less accepting state. "Decline it," I said. He did, prioritizing us. The sacrifice bonded us deeper. Yet society evolved unevenly. Laws protected, but hearts lagged. A friend's assault at a bar reminded us vulnerability. We advocated louder, testifying for hate crime bills. Personal awakenings continued. Therapy unearthed childhood traumas. Dad's rigid expectations stemming from his own unfulfilled dreams. Understanding bred empathy, leading to a tentative lunch with him in Chicago. "I was wrong to push you," he admitted. No full apology, but enough for healing. As years blurred, our story became one of resilience. Losses, some ties severed forever. Gains, authenticity, love unmasked. But the question haunted. In a world quick to judge, is living truthfully a victory or perpetual battle? With time, the scars of upheaval faded into badges of survival. Mark and I adopted a dog, a scruffy mutt named Riley, whose boundless energy mirrored our renewed vigor. Weekends in the park became rituals, hands intertwined without second glances. Progress in a city that prided itself on diversity, yet still harbored pockets of prejudice. Professionally, I pivoted to full-time advocacy, heading a nonprofit aiding LGBTQ professionals. Cases poured in. Executives outed and fired, youth disowned. Each story reinforced the systemic mouth-wan. Laws advancing while cultural lags perpetuated harm. A high-profile lawsuit against a Fortune 500 company for discrimination thrust me into the spotlight. Media interviews dissected my past, turning personal pain into public narrative. "How do you reconcile family rejection?" reporters asked. "By choosing found family," I'd reply, glancing at Mark. But victories came at costs. Exhaustion set in, burnout looming. Mark noticed, booking a cabin retreat in the Adirondacks. Amid hikes and fireside chats, we confronted lingering resentments. "Sometimes I wonder if you'd chosen differently," he confessed. The admission stung, unearthing my own doubts. Had I dragged him into my chaos? No regrets, I assured. But the ethical weight pressed, balancing self-fulfillment against partner sacrifices. Family dynamics shifted glacially. Mom visited New York, her first time alone. Touring the city, she met our friends, attended a support meeting. "I see now," she whispered. "The happiness I wanted for you. It's here." Dad remained distant, but holiday cards arrived and signed. A silent acknowledgement. Betrayal resurfaced via an old flame of Mark's, jealous and vindictive. Anonymous tips to my nonprofit alleged impropriety, triggering an audit. Cleared, but the stress strained us. "Why fight so hard?" Mark asked during a low point. "Because silence enables oppression," I countered. The ordeal strengthened our bond, a testament to commitment amid adversity. Societal tensions escalated nationally. Legislation rolling back rights, emboldening hate. We marched in protests, voices hoarse from chanting. A close call. Counter-protesters clashing, Mark shoved to the ground. Bruised but unbroken, it fueled resolve. "We're not backing down," he declared. Personal growth blossomed. I mentored a young lawyer, closeted and terrified. Guiding him through coming out echoed my journey, closing a circle. His success, family acceptance, career intact, inspired hope. Emily and I stayed in touch, our friendship reborn from ashes. Her family life, complete with kids, contrasted mine, yet we celebrated differences. "You paved the way for honesty," she said during a visit. As our 10th anniversary neared, we renewed vows publicly, inviting all, including Dad. He declined, but Mom came, beaming. The event, covered by media, sparked debates. Hero or homewrecker? Online forums dissected my choices, labeling them selfish or brave. Reflecting, the path was littered with trade-offs. Lost relationships for gained integrity, societal scrutiny for inner peace. Mark and I built a home filled with love, but shadows of what if lingered. A final confrontation. Dad's call after a health scare. "Come see me." In the hospital, vulnerability stripped defenses. "I love you, son, even if I don't understand." Tears flowed, a dam breaking. Not full embrace, but enough for closure. Life marched on, advocacy, love, challenges. The narrative wasn't tidy. Real change rarely is. But in authenticity's embrace, we found strength. Still, one ponders. In pursuing personal truth, do we owe society conformity, or does society owe us acceptance? Decades later, looking back, the whirlwind of that wedding day felt like a distant storm that reshaped landscapes. Mark and I, now in our 50s, had weathered more than most. Career pivots, health scares, the adoption of a child. A bright-eyed boy named Theo, whose laughter filled our home. Navigating parenthood as gay dads in America brought fresh battles. Schoolyard bullies echoing societal biases, PTA meetings laced with subtle exclusions. But Theo's resilience mirrored ours, teaching us anew the price of visibility. Advocacy evolved into legacy building. I authored a book, Unveiled Lives, chronicling stories like mine. Bestseller status amplified voices, but attracted backlash, death threats, boycotts. Security became routine, a grim reminder of unfinished progress. Mark, retired from tech, supported quietly, his steady presence my anchor. Family ties mended unevenly. Dad passed years prior, our last conversations laced with unspoken regrets. "I'm sorry," he'd whispered once. Mom lived nearby now, doting on Theo, her evolution complete. Laura's kids played with ours, cousins united despite history. Emily remained a friend, her life a parallel track of contentment. Reunions reflected on paths diverged, her stability versus my turbulence. "Worth it?" she'd ask. Absolutely. Yet, ethical debates persisted internally. Had my abrupt awakening been reckless, inflicting unnecessary pain, or a necessary catalyst for change? Society had advanced. Marriage equality solidified, protections expanded, but pockets of resistance endured, forcing constant vigilance. Theo's coming of age brought full-circle moments. At 16, he confided crushes on boys, fear in his eyes. "Will it be hard like for you?" Guiding him, I shared truths. Yes, but worth every fight. His openness, unburdened by my generation's shadows, was our greatest triumph. As Mark and I sat on our porch, watching sunsets, gratitude swelled. The costs, betrayals endured, relationships fractured, paled against gains. Love authentic, impact lasting. But the core question remains, sparking endless debate. Is it morally right to upend lives for personal authenticity, or does duty to others demand sacrifice of self?